So I know I said I was going to make these chatty videos a Sunday thing, but it's been a crazy past week, and I suddenly have a ton of schoolwork, and I'm suddenly feeling super inspired, YouTube-wise. So like trying to balance the two out. But yeah, today's Tuesday, just a few days late. It happens. I have a butterfly sticker on my heart right now. I don't know. Sometimes you just want to put it on a butterfly sticker. Today I wanted to talk about social anxiety because, like I said in my last little chatty video, there's a lot that I need to talk about. So here is my first chat. Sorry if you can hear the construction outside. I feel like my videos are always so noisy. Like the podcast is always so noisy because that's what happens when you live in New York, I suppose. Okay, so social anxiety. Something I've talked a lot about on my channel before, and I'm just at this place in my life where I feel like I'm seeing myself so much more clearly, and I'm seeing these old parts of me so much more clearly, and I'm really moving away from these old stories that I used to tell myself, and one of those being my social anxiety. I'm really beginning to disconnect from it and disconnect from the drama I have created in my mind about connecting with other people. It's still there for sure, and I still get very anxious. Like, I'm not saying that it's perfect and that I'm cured and I'm 100% happy all the time and I never experience anxiety, because that's just not the case, and that's never going to be the case. You're never going to be perfect. But I'm getting there, and I'm beginning to truly take the steps that feel like I'm like making progress, which is so exciting. But yeah, I've really begun to disconnect. Like, that's kind of the visual that I want you to like grasp, like, is disconnecting from this social anxiety and like knowing I don't know where your social anxiety stems from. This is, oh my god, butterfly just flew by. Sorry. ADD. We were just talking about this in one of my classes this morning. It's a systems of psychotherapy class. I don't know. Oh, we were talking about like why it's important in therapy to kind of like address where the stories that you tell yourself come from. Like, why is insight important when it comes to therapy, or when it comes to just like trying to figure out your own life. And so I don't know where your social anxiety stems from, but it's important to have insight into it because it helps you kind of connect your irrational thought patterns and kind of disconnect, like connect to your irrational thought patterns, but disconnect from them. Be like, hey, this is just a story that has been imposed on me from family, society, peers, whatever it was. Typically it's in your childhood. This is just a story that has been told to me many times, and I didn't have any way to like approve of it or disapprove of it as a child, so it's just something that's been like ingrained on me. So like, this is a story, it's not me, it's not innately me. So that's like a good place to start, just on a journey of social anxiety, or general anxiety, whatever it is, whatever mental illness you're struggling with, or just whatever life concept you're struggling with. Insight is important, and that's a good place to start. And that's definitely where I started. A few months ago, I started going to therapy, and I realized that a lot of my social anxiety comes from shame of being a human. So yeah, once you can go there, you can kind of begin to disconnect from the drama. Like, you see the drama is just a story. You don't see the drama as the truth anymore. I just wrote down like a few random topics, so we're just gonna try and go into them and see where we flow. So, first thing I wrote down is validating your own experience. A lot of my perception of myself, not a lot, like I would say the entirety of my perception of myself has always come from the outside, because I've been too insecure internally to validate my own experience and validate my own emotions, validate my own beliefs, validate my own thoughts, validate my own preferences, whatever. You get the point. Like, I think that just at a very young age, it was like really, I didn't get that validation, so I never really learned like how to do it for myself. But now that you are, I'm guessing, a young adult, you can begin to validate your own experience, and you can begin to say, this is me. If you don't like it, that's okay. Not everyone's gonna like you. A lot of social anxiety, I think, stems from like feeling so afraid of judgment that you need everyone to approve of you in some way. Otherwise, there's something innately wrong with you. But that's not the case. Like, and you're never gonna feel good enough unless you validate your own experience and you're like, this is me. And even if you don't know who you are yet, just like start by validating your own feelings. If you're feeling sad, don't rationalize it. Don't be like, I don't know. I don't really know what this has to do with social anxiety at this point. It kind of does. But if you're feeling sad, don't rationalize it. Let yourself feel sad. If you're feeling angry, don't feel guilty for being angry. Don't feel, I don't know, bad for being angry. Feelings are there for a reason, and they can guide us to our truth. They aren't our truth, but they can guide us to our truth. And I guess that's where I was kind of going. Like, once you get there, you start feeling more of who you are. And you start seeing how you react to things, etc. You're connecting to your sensitivity, your vulnerability. So from there, you can kind of begin to validate that for yourself, and then you aren't looking for so much from the external, because that could be a lot of where social anxiety comes from too, is just like expecting so much from the external when it's like, no, you can only kind of do that for yourself. So yeah, but validating your own inner experience, just like start practicing that, your own outer experience too. Like, if you are socially anxious, that's okay. Like, don't let anyone tell you that you should be connecting with more people. You should have these easy connections that just are made at the snap of a finger. You know, like, you're anxious. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with you. And that kind of goes along with my next point, which is placing the focus on the other instead of yourself. And someone once told me, she was like this psychic numerologist that I saw like a year ago when my social anxiety was like kind of at a peak. We were just talking about my social anxiety, and she noticed how like everything I was speaking about when speaking on my social anxiety had to do with me. Like, it didn't have to do with like the other person's reaction is going to be like this. The other person, I mean, obviously, like, the things I was speaking on were kind of insinuating that they would be judging me, but it was more about like me and how shameful and how I don't have the right words, how shameful I will feel for like not having the right words and for not being able to flow through a conversation with another person. And she said something to me like, you have your me button on or something. It was a conversation about life path 7s. I'm a life path 7. If you don't know about numerology, there's different like numbers that you can calculate that kind of describe your personality based on your birthday and your name. And life, like the main one, it's kind of like your sun sign in astrology. But anyways, it was a conversation about life path 7s. And she said she always tells life path 7s that their me button is turned on because they're very deeply analytical, deeply internal, self-aware people. And a lot of anxiety stems from that self-aware place, like being too self-aware and too self-critical on yourself, obviously. So she was saying, like, your me button is on, and, like, it's going to take so much pressure off of you if you just place the emphasis on the other person. Like, they're part of the conversation too. It's not just you. You don't have to make sure that everything is going perfectly. Like, you're both there. You're both there to flow with each other. And she told me this thing that really stuck with me. She was like, almost treat it like you're researching the person, which sounds like a little bit creepy to say, but it's fun, like, especially if you're a life path 7. You like to research and just gain a lot of knowledge about something, especially other people and the way other people's brains work. So ask them questions. People love to talk about themselves. And just treat it like a research project. And then you kind of can distance yourself from it, which you don't want to be distancing yourself from it in the long term, but like when you're just starting out on this journey, like that's fine. Like take the little baby steps you have to take to get there. Just take it a little bit more lightheartedly. But yeah, I thought that was a cool thing because no one had ever really put it into that perspective for me. And a lot of something that I've learned just like through my psych classes and stuff, like a lot of anxious individuals will be very like me focused, and it's kind of hard to like get past that place because you're in such like a self-critical place that you can't even really like give the other person attention, which then creates even more like awkwardness, which is going to make you more anxious. So that's cool. Next 2 things I wrote are patience and practice, which kind of go hand in hand. I've been having a lot of patience lessons come up recently in my life. I'm a pretty impatient person, and I get frustrated easily. And I think that was a big thing. I mean, a big thing with me is like, I would get super, super frustrated with myself if I didn't see any progress. If I wasn't at the place socially that I wanted to be yet, like if I wasn't at the end destination, which there is no end destination, which is another thing I should talk about. If I didn't feel fully comfortable, I would get so frustrated with myself. And that's just putting like more negative energy into it. That's just kind of fueling the fire. You're not going to get from point A to point B just after watching this video. It's going to take years, your whole lifetime, months perhaps. You're going to meet some people that you click with right away that it's easy. No, you don't even feel anxious the first time you meet them. And then you're going to meet some people in your life that like maybe you always feel anxious around. It's on a spectrum. Just like anything else in life. Anxiety is on a spectrum depending on, what's going on in the rest of your life, who the people are, etc. I'm sure you know that. Don't beat yourself up if you're still struggling. Just don't. And again, validate your own inner experience. Be like, this is part of my story. This is part of who I am. Yeah, I get anxious around people. That's okay. I'm still lovable. I'm still human. It's just something that I have to work through, and it makes my experience that much like meaningful in a way because, it's something that you have gone through. Like any challenges make your life more meaningful in a way because you can share your struggles with others and help heal others with similar struggles that you have been through. So kind of look at it like that, although it does suck. Have patience with it, and again, don't look at it as a point A to point B situation because it's going to be on a spectrum. There are going to be points in your life where you don't feel as anxious as other points in your life, and that's okay. And know that like the right people will be there when the right people are meant to be there. Keep trusting that and trust in yourself. And along with that is practice. Like if you go out there and you have a really shitty conversation with someone, or you just have like the worst time with someone because you're so anxious, don't keep hiding after that. Be like, this is what happened this time. This is what I can do to make myself feel more comfortable next time. And you have to rely on yourself too in that sort of a scenario. Like you have to be like, it's important to find something internally that you can kind of go back to kind of comfort you. in a situation when you feel so uncomfortable. Like, you have to trust in yourself and rely on yourself in that way if you want to be able to keep taking the steps, because it's going to be hard at first. Like, you're going to have to put yourself into situations that just, like, you feel really embarrassed or you feel really unsure and it's uncomfortable. But you can still go to that comfortable place within yourself and take a deep breath and be like, I got this. It's okay. And once you identify that place within yourself, you begin to be able to consistently keep practicing this and keep putting yourself out there, even if you're embarrassed, even if you have an embarrassing moment, even if it feels super awkward. Like, you're not gonna shut down to that anymore and continue in this, like, avoidance cycle of anxiety. And along with that, like, you're gonna make mistakes. You're not always gonna have the right words. You're not always gonna be able to keep the conversation flowing. Like, it's okay to make mistakes. I think that's another place where a lot of my anxiety comes from, is, like, the feeling that I need to have everything figured out and that, like, everything needs to be perfect. I need to be, I need to elaborate on what I'm trying to say perfectly. I need to be very eloquent with what I'm trying to say, and I need to have exactly what I want to say figured out before I say it. But, like, that's impossible. As a human, that's truly impossible. The most beautiful thing about humankind is how imperfect it is, and I'm really starting to learn that in my heart, because that's not something that I've lived by in the past, which has created a lot of anxiety, because when you have those high standards for yourself and you're very self-critical in that way, you're never going to get there, and it's going to cause a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress. And I think a lot of people beat themselves up from that place too, when you're not just, like, living from a more imperfect, yes, I'm going to make mistakes, yes, things aren't always going to go smoothly. When you're living from that place, it's a lot easier to feel compassion and self-love. But when you're living from a place of everything needs to be perfect all the time, you're going to be very self-critical. You're going to kind of tear yourself up for not being able to meet that standard. And that's, I don't know, that kind of differentiation and realization has just helped me a lot when it comes to my own social anxiety and just, like, speaking my truth and not beating myself up if I later realize that what I did wasn't perfect, or maybe what I did wasn't for the best of everyone in the situation, whatever. I can just, like, forgive myself a lot easier, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Yeah, so that was video number 1 about social anxiety. I kind of went all over the place with that, but hopefully you got something out of it, social anxiety-wise or otherwise. Definitely gonna make more videos about this, because I'm, like, just starting. Like, I'm really still, like, down here, still taking baby steps, but my baby steps are, like, adding up, and it's really working, and I'm living proof that you can get there. You can get there. I believe in all of you, I trust in all of you, and I hope you all trust in yourself. Thank you for listening to me, and let me know what videos you want to see from me in the future in terms of this or anything else, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.